Hello and good morning to another Wednesday Q&A. We've recently had communications from Joanne Green, Laurie Yantek, from Miss Lee 545 on YouTube, from Lesongi Vangongo, I'm sorry if I've got that, Vangomo, sorry, and from Tamara Dussenbury, Karen Witt. So I'm going to answer these as quickly as I can, but hopefully make sense. Joanne Green says, hello, can you please do a video on your supplies and tools like hoops and scissors? I would love to see it. Thank you for sharing. Well, Joanne Green, I use the 3 different sizes of hoop frame. I use the curved scissors, the brown curved scissors, and another pair of Ginkster scissors that very kindly a friend gave me on a stitching retreat because they're nice and solid, and they're very pretty blue and white print, so my grandchildren are not allowed to steal them. I use those for silk. I use the curved ones for silk or for wool, any sort of wool, and that's pretty well all I use. And I do buy new scissors for cutting out the linen because I'm finding it very difficult to have them sharpened. So if you know anybody in the UK, preferably, who will sharpen my scissors, please let me know. Next one, your Laurie Yantek. Another enjoyable and joyous video. Katie is doing a fabulous job. Yes, it's not about my video anymore. It's all about Katie, and she's doing an excellent job. Love it. I have a question about neatness on the back. When I was taught floss embroidery, dresser scarves, pillowcases, etc., threads were ended on the back and carefully slid into other stitches or otherwise tidied away. Does the top of work start and ending come from a tradition of large frame pieces? You've nailed it, Laura. Yes, it does. I find, for example, starting and ending cross stitch in an open space challenging using the top method, as there would be long thread from starting point, say in a flower, to where the new area begins. I hope this makes sense as a query. Total sense, Laura Yantek. You've nailed it. Right. When you move from, say, one petal with a colour and you've got some more thread left and you want to use it on the opposite side of the flower, all you do is make a little tiny seeding stitch every inch as you go across the shape. So I call it walking across the design. You can put them in the middle of an area that's going to be covered later with long and short stitch or another heavy stitch like satin stitch, or you can put it through any blue line. So I personally don't put it through any laden couchwork lines that are printed on the linen. I would go around the edge rather gingerly with laden couchwork, but any other stitch you can just hop around the design, and so you're always working from the top till the very, very, very last thread. And the last thread in a design, I rather ceremoniously might look at the back and thread my last thread in my last colour in the entire design through the back of the work. Right, I don't need to do that. I could bury them in a bit of heavy long and short stitch. I could just thread it through the back, so over the surface on the correct side of the linen, but underneath the wool. And that's why, going back to Joanne Green's point, I like the curved scissors, because the curved scissors, you can get very close. You can pull the end up through the linen and snip with the curved scissors without cutting anything else. So you're not cutting any of the other long and short stitch that you're hiding it under. You're not cutting the wool of that. Hope that answers anything for you, Laura. Come back to me if you don't, for anybody. Right, okay. Miss Lee 545, she says, 2-part video on posture. This 2-part instruction on posture has been so helpful. Thank you. That's very nice of you. Thank you very much. Now hidden right underneath hers was somebody, Selena Wells. Sorry, I didn't introduce you earlier, Selena. She says, I love watching these videos. I'm really sad when they end. Phillipa is such a good teacher too. Oh, goodness me, Celine, thank you very much. As my teaching qualifications are all about horse riding and dressage, I'm really flattered when anybody ever says anything nice about my embroidery teaching. But I know I'm very thorough, but sometimes my bossy side comes over in these videos in a rather embarrassing way for my family. So I'm glad that you're sticking up for me, Selena, and thank you. I need friends like you. Right, the next one is from the Tree of Life video 29, Lesongi Vangomo. Phillipa, you should bring Katie with you, or this pandemic is over. She would be a great help and inspiration to your newer stitches in the class. Based on how quickly she responds to training, she would be a tremendous help. Well, the thing is, Lesongi, there's a difference between being an enthusiastic newcomer and a very experienced teacher. And teaching is, as all teachers will scream at the over this, going, it's a totally different thing. It's a totally different thing than sharing with the podcast. Katie's doing a fantastic job. We are amazed how she's taken to it. I mean, obviously she has done it before for her own blog and her own podcast. So she's experienced in the medium of getting this over on the internet. That's amazing. Her mother is very good at, she does all our PR, she does a lot of filming. Her mother is very good at editing and looking at the videos, and obviously their mother and daughter duo, they're bound to have their disagreements, but I know that they're both very talented in that respect. Michael Johnson from San Jose, California writes, hello again. When one is transferring a pattern, prick and pounce, lightbox, directly drawing, etc., on a large piece like a bedspread, do you just use an HB pencil as the final line? Actually, I don't use it as a final line. I use it as the only line, Michael. I use a light box, which you can make yourself from a glass top table and a light shining underneath. So you place the design on a piece of paper or acetate on the table with the linen over the top, right side up, and then place a lamp underneath, and I angle the lamp at about 45 degrees, and then use a very sharp, or a series of very sharp pencils, and I angle the pencil at about 45 degrees to the linen and stroke that across, and I just make one very light line until I'm totally sure that I've got what I want. I tend to tape everything down with masking tape. So I masking tape the design to the table or the light box if you've got one, and I masking tape the fabric on all four sides, so you can lift a corner and then put it back again if you're just checking that you've got everything marked out. But if you just turn the light off and the light back on again, you'll soon see if you've missed a bit. And he says, I understand that the Glasgow bedspread would take the team 5 hours by hand to apply the pattern. I have to tell you, Michael, it takes 5 hours now after Georgie's been working with us for 4 or 5 years. It takes a lot longer for most people to set up a frame or a light box and draw something out. And really, that's one of the things you're paying for, that expertise, when you buy a kit. Michael says, I worry that due to its size and movement and length required to stitch, that a simple pencil wear would rub off. And I was thinking of a fine point permanent marker. Oh gosh, please don't think of that, Michael. In the same blue as your kit, or a grey would be better for such a huge piece. And then he said he's eagerly awaiting the Aesop Fable project. Well, I'm jolly pleased you are, because we're working on that like mad. We're trying so hard to get that out in a timely way and to get it complete. And as I said before, Georgie's working full-time painting the illustrations. I'm working full-time on it. I'm doing nothing else apart from that and recording these videos. And I'm not designing anything new until I've got that out as a kit and ready. Back to what you were saying, Michael, about a simple pencil. I can tell you a simple pencil is on the 1710 bed hangings that we've used for the ho-ho bird design. And when I was talking about that in the podcast recently, I was saying that Lanto Singh had said, you know, what it was and what the date and everything. But what I didn't say was that there was pencil marks at the top of one of the panels. And he said, don't ever, think that you have to stitch over it or get rid of that. It's really important that we can see that there are pencil marks in the early 18th century. And that's what they were using, not ink. Because, of course, the ink, many of the ink mordants, or even the inks themselves, the dyes in them actually rotted the fabric, the linen below it, and that's why quite often a finely drawn out face is missing on a piece of needlework of that era. Anyway, using a fine point, to answer again your email, oh, you were thinking of a fine point permanent marker. Oh, I just feel horrible when you even put that down. Please don't. I'm friends with lots of conservators, and I could kind of feel their toes curl as I read that out. And no, please don't. The ones that you get commercially, they either, in my experience, they either fade as you work them, far more than pencil would, or they're not as permanent as they promise to be. And, you know, you'll be using your hanging, even if you don't block it, and with a large piece you don't need to block it. There will be some damp in the air, and you might find that it's that the fine line runs, and that would just be a disaster. I just would never risk it. And I really don't use anything chemical on my organic linen anyway, if I can possibly help it. So I think we need to learn the mistakes of the past, as well as learning through the experience of embroiderers and the fantastic things they did in the past, and just make sure you don't put any ink anywhere near a piece of needlework that you're going to cover with stitches. Now, what I didn't tell you was that Michael sent 4 attachments of pictures that he clearly doesn't mind if we share them with you, and they're quite extraordinary. Oh, absolutely wonderful. I just can't tell you how fabulous they are, and I particularly like Santa Claus. I just think it's fantastic, and the picture of you beside the tree. And I'd love to know who you are on that. Are you a god? I'm not quite sure, and I'd love to know. So please let us know, and I'll email back and try and get that answer in time for Karen to publish this, if she dares, on the Q&A. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.